Hello everyone, it's Wednesday afternoon and I thought I'd give you a little bit of feedback on your assignments so far. So I've read all your work, I've left some comments and I've sent you your grades. Well done, I'm very pleased with everything I've read, but I thought I'd give you some tips moving forward as you prepare to tackle assignment 2. So the first thing is, when preparing to write a paper or provide a response, I want you to take some time to define your terms. That is, somewhere in your opening paragraphs, take a moment to define the terms that will be key as your argument develops. So for example, this week a lot of people have written about high culture. But what do we mean by this? It becomes clear as we read the entries on the blog that not everybody is in agreement as to what high culture should mean, whereas some people are just taking it for granted that we all understand what that is. Now, as we know, with the notion of common sense, taking things for granted is to assume too much. So rather, when making an argument, make sure your argument is founded in well-defined terminology. However, one warning about this: don't use dictionary definitions. So please do not answer your essays with, begin your essays with Webster's dictionary defines high culture as. I find that to be sophomoric and kind of inelegant way to begin an essay. So please don't do that. Find another way to define a term. You can actually do it in a really sort of plain and literal way. You can have a line that says, in this essay, I understand the term high culture to mean the following. And, that's just as simple as it can be. Okay, the second point is if you're going to make an assertion about something, so if you're going to sort of say, in this text, we can see, then why don't you quote from the primary text? That's very important. I need to see the evidence, because if you're trying to convince me of something, I need to see the evidence for myself so I can make my own conclusions, right? So quote from the primary source. There is, I believe, in the compose window even a quote feature, so you can kind of indent things rather neatly if you so choose. That works the other way around. If you're going to quote something, make sure you then analyze it. Don't just say, as the text says, and then type out a quote and leave the quote to hang there. Rather, I want to see your mind working. So I want to see how you kind of unpack and interpret and analyze that quote. Here's a handy rule of thumb. For every line you quote, there should be a line of analysis. So if you type out 10 lines of quotation, I want to see 10 lines of interpretation. Okay, that's a kind of a one-for-one rule when it comes to using quotations. The next thing, when you're preparing your answers, please don't compose directly into the compose box. You all have different working practices, but my advice would be for you to type it out. Even write it out by hand, that would be perfect. Then type it into a word processor, then type it into your compose box. I realize that this makes it a rather lengthy process and you might want to skip one or two of these steps, but I want you to take care when you're writing your essays. So I want your essays to go through multiple drafts. There is no such thing as writing, there is only rewriting, and rewriting is how you get to good writing, essentially. So make a plan on a piece of paper. I compulsively make plans. Here's my plan for the talk I'm giving to you now. Make a plan, then write a draft, then write another draft, then put it in your compose box, and then then you're cooking, then you're getting somewhere. Also, proofread it. Now, it's notoriously difficult to proofread things on screens. You miss all kinds of errors. So my recommendation is to print it out and proofread it. I see quite a few typos. This is kind of to be expected with typing into a blog. But remember, this is still an English class, and one of the key learning outcomes for this class, as you'll see on the course description, is to write critically and well. So I want to see your best powers of composition and your most elegant prose. Keep commenting on one another's posts. I'm glad to see that started, so keep that ongoing. You can, if I've commented on something, that doesn't mean the thread is over either. That doesn't mean I've had the final word. I don't want you to think that. Keep commenting and even respond to my comments. If I've said something and you've read my comment and you think, well, I don't think he's seen the full picture there, or there's something I want to add, feel free. This is a dialogue, this is an ongoing conversation, so let's keep the conversation going and let's try and get a sense of community in this otherwise disembodied virtual world. Keep posting when you're doing your posts. Put pictures in them, make them pretty. Keep post links to videos. Like, I would have liked to see the embedded YouTubes of the Marvin Gaye and Beyonce songs. That would have been fun. That would have livened up my day as I was sitting in the office. So keep add that kind of stuff. It embellishes the blog and it makes the content more interesting and it keeps us all engaged. And finally, keep it up. Good stuff. I'm enjoying it a lot. I hope you are too. I think this kind of sense of a periodical or magazine is really starting to emerge now, and I hope you get into it because I think it's going to be really good, and I'm certainly very excited to see how it evolves. So enjoy the rest of this beautiful evening, and goodbye.